A single, fragile, metallic module, slowly descending into the pitch-black void above a stark, desolate, cratered lunar surface. And the Soviet Union transformed the vacuum of space into the ultimate proxy battlefield. Following World War II, Europe was reduced to skeletal ruins. Out of this devastation, the US and the USSR emerged as deeply polarized superpowers. In the final months of the war, both nations initiated a frantic scramble to harvest Germany's technical assets. The primary target was the V-2 ballistic missile program and its architects, including technical director Wernher von Braun. Through systematic extraction campaigns, Operation Paperclip in the US and Operation Osoaviakim in the USSR, both superpowers extracted designers and technology to jumpstart their own programs. This captured intelligence immediately fueled the rapid prototyping of intercontinental ballistic missiles. German rocket science became the foundational currency of Cold War superiority. It established a simple, terrifying metric: whoever controlled the technology to deliver a warhead could theoretically control the globe. On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1. It was an 183-pound polished aluminum sphere with 4 whip antennas, completing an orbit every 98 minutes. As it circled the globe, it broadcast a rhythmic radio signal that repeatedly passed unchallenged over American airspace. These headlines show the depth of the cultural shock. To the public and the media, the launch was framed as a massive technological defeat. Sputnik's success shattered the belief in American technological invulnerability. It locked both nations into a cycle of escalation where every achievement by one side demanded a more daring response from the other. The Soviet Union maintained its lead on April 12, 1961, with Yuri Gagarin. Selected because his short stature fit the cramped Vostok 1 capsule, he completed a 108-minute orbit, becoming the first human in space. The flight was highly automated. To the watching world, the broadcast presented an image of total, seamless Soviet control. But declassified records revealed the near-fatal reality of his descent. Following retrofire, the equipment module failed to detach, remaining tethered by a thick wire bundle. The drag threw the capsule into a violent, high-speed spin. Gagarin endured forces up to 8 times Earth's gravity, until the friction of atmospheric re-entry finally burned the wires away. By projecting flawless execution, the Soviets effectively masked the extreme, lethal risks they were willing to take to keep their geopolitical lead. In 1958, the United States established NASA, rapidly mobilizing the Mercury program to match Soviet capabilities. The Kennedy administration realized that achieving success in low Earth orbit would not be enough to overtake the Soviet lead. In September 1962, President Kennedy delivered an address at Rice University. He made a tactical decision to commit the nation to a single audacious goal: landing a man on the moon. Moving the finish line 240,000 miles away strategically reset the competition. Kennedy transformed an orbital sprint into a decadal endurance marathon. That accelerated political timeline demanded hardware and systems that did not yet exist, placing impossible engineering constraints on the programs. In January 1967, a flash fire swept through the pure oxygen environment of the Apollo 1 cabin. The disaster resulted in the loss of Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee. The Soviets faced their own catastrophic setbacks. Their lunar launch vehicles, the massive N-1 rockets, suffered repeated immense explosions on the pad, dismantling lunar ambitions. Winning the high ground required a tolerance for catastrophic engineering failures and the loss of crews. The decade-long effort culminated on July 20, 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin finally stood on the lunar surface. The landing achieved its immediate geopolitical objective. The United States had definitively proven its technological and industrial capacity. The success of Apollo 11 exhausted the political momentum of the race. With the United States reaching the moon and the Soviet N-1 program in ruins, both superpowers began to scale back. NASA canceled its remaining lunar flights, and the Soviet Union shifted toward space stations, effectively ending the era of the frantic sprint for new horizons. The extreme demands of reaching the moon had inadvertently forced breakthroughs in miniaturization, computing, and material science. Direct descendants of the Apollo era include modern telecommunications, GPS, and satellite internet. The true legacy of the space race is the invisible planetary infrastructure of connectivity that outlasted the rivalry itself. By 1975, a broader political shift toward détente opened the door for the Apollo-Soyuz test project. Utilizing a universally designed docking module, American and Soviet spacecraft physically linked in orbit. The crews crossed the threshold to shake hands and share meals. That historic truce established the framework for the ongoing collaborative operations in low Earth orbit today. The trajectory of the space age moved from the threat of nuclear annihilation toward the reality of a shared human outpost in the stars. The quest for orbital supremacy forced humanity to look past its borders, recognizing our shared fragility and a collective future in the stars.